Drew and I had a baby of our own just this last month. Well, right around the time that Ben was actually having a baby, because Papi de las Mayas, the cup business down in Belize that we've been coming alongside of this past year, opened up its second location, which was a whirlwind. Opened up January 5th, and it was just crazy.
Welcome to the Coffee Experts Club, where we discuss all of the insights, expertise, and drama that goes into making your passion your profession. Our hosts, Aaron, Ben, and Drew, are three coffee experts who have taken their coffee experience and turned it into true expertise. They have consulted with major coffee brands throughout the United States and beyond, providing operations expertise and growth strategy for drive-through openings, multiple locations, and everything in between. So brew yourself a cup and hang out a bit with the Coffee Experts Club.
Yes, Ben Clatterbuck at Coffee Experts Club.
Hello, hello.
How is the day?
The day is going fantastically. What day is it? What day is today's Wednesday?
Really? That's amazing. New baby, right? Ben Clatterbuck, since you heard from us last, the Ben Clatterbuck has had a little angel girl. So congratulations to Ben Clatterbuck.
Thank you. Thank you. She is fantastic. Everything that they talk about it's as great as it is, including
It's
the
as
months
true
of
as it
sleep.
is, including no sleep, right? Like you're not sleeping,
Luckily, I drink plenty of coffee.
right?
Ta-da!
Which is why we're here. And Ben, seriously though, like when you used to run coffee shops, 'cause it's been a little bit of time, right? Like I mean, you ran coffee shops for decades, like you've been around for a long time. This is something you've been doing forever. But it's been a minute since that was what your primary job is. Been here with the Collab team. We get to consult with a lot of different coffee shops, a lot of different businesses in general. What would you have thought of if you had had a baby while you were still running coffee? Would that have been how would that have been different than how it is now? Because I just think now you've got a lot of flexibility and freedom. Like if you need to go crash, take a nap, if you need to go do something. But I feel like back in those days, like you were pushing pretty hard. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, back in those days, though, I probably would have done a lot better with the lack of sleep. I've gotten like comfortable now. Like
I was
back
a
in
much
the
younger man in those years.
yeah, well, like opening a shop when you're there, I have to be there at 4 a.m. Like that's no big deal back then. Now I'm like getting up and like, oh my God.
Yes. No joke. Obviously, it's been some years for me now. David, my oldest, is 26, and my youngest is 20. So I haven't had babies in a long time, but I remember the baby years of like no sleep and like still having to grind it out and do work and show up well. And I was on a call with you earlier and you're like, oh, sorry, my brain has not kicked back on yet. Just up and down and up and down. So thanks for being willing to jump in here with us tonight. You and I were talking about, recording this afternoon and like, man, afternoons, I'm like on my third caffeinated beverage to try and keep me going.
It's true. And it's not so much like whenever, I always hear people talk about babies. They're like, oh, you never sleep, you never sleep. And I'm like, how is that hard? I can stay up till 1, no problem. But it's
Right.
the stay up till 1, sleep, get up at 3, sleep,
That's
get up
right.
at 5, sleep. It's that 1, 2 gut punch of, oh, wait, you just fell asleep, get back up.
That's right. No, I tell people all the time, like, I feel like it's a big learning curve when you first get married, right? Because you're living with somebody else, or like you've just come into this new relationship, and everything is a little bit different, and like they're in your space. And but I always tell people, yeah, but at least they have the decency to sleep when they're supposed to sleep, to get up when they're supposed to get up, and you eat at relatively the right times. Like, right, everybody, like we have these
Yep.
decencies that we just take for granted, but the child comes in and she is the boss. Like she tells you when you're sleeping, she tells you when you're eating, she keeps everything moving. So I definitely think it's a whole
Yep.
different game changer when you have a kid, man. So
It
congratulations.
is. Thank you.
Yeah,
It is different, but it's worth every minute. I will say that.
good. Good. You're a good dad. I feel like Drew wasn't able to be here with us today, but you'll hear back from him probably next week. Drew and I had a baby of our own just this last month, right around the time that Ben was actually having a baby, because Papi de las Mayas, the cup business down in Belize that we've been coming alongside of this past year, opened up its second location, which was a whirlwind. Opened up January 5th, and it was just crazy, 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 crazy. Obviously, Ben, you and I've done a ton of openings, right? Ton of grand openings, a ton of buildings. Like I think I built a couple dozen buildings at this point. Of putting up coffee, and I think that, it was all the normal stuff except for down there. Everything's a little bit more accelerated because they're not so stringent on the rules. So we were able to get the thing up and going, right? So from day they broke ground until when we were opening, it was 9 weeks. And if you didn't know anything about contracting, think about that one for a minute. From the day it was dirt, that's all it was there. And it wasn't even dirt or level dirt, right? So leveling the dirt setting the foundation, building this building, and committing to us 9 weeks.
You're gonna spend that much time just working with the city to get utilities around here.
Sometimes I feel like I work that long with the city just to get my next meeting scheduled. I'm like, what are we doing here? And you know how it is
Oh,
working with
man.
magistrates. You know what I mean? It's 8 to 5, bro. And a lot of times it's 8 to 4. And there's no hurry it up. Like they can go slower. So if you're gonna be a dick, then they can slow things down. You know what I mean? Like it's just how it works, you know? So for us, it was really a refreshing experience. But also you always think that's so awesome. We're gonna get open, we're getting this dialed in. But when it's that fast, it's also your whole timeline. We've got that whole spreadsheet, right? We've got it all lined out in smart sheets, and it's all the dates are all like counter levered on each other. And when you do this, then you do this. And when you do this, you do this. And it's a beautiful document that comes with Coffee Experts Club if you ever buy into the Coffee Experts Academy. But on the spreadsheet, let me tell you what goes out the window really fast. When you have an 8 to 9 week timeline, the whole sheet's like condensed down and you're like, oh my gosh. So I think that was what we didn't take in consideration when the contractor told us he could turn it that fast. We're like, that is awesome. We'll be open by Christmas. And then it was like, holy crap, we're going to be open by Christmas.
Well, and by the time you blink, a couple of weeks is gone already, right? So
That's
it's like,
it. That,
I'm so used to that spreadsheet where it's like, all right, I've got 3 or 4 weeks to plan this out. I got time
yep.
to work on this. And before you know it, a couple of weeks are gone. So in a 9-week window, that's like what, almost a quarter of what
That's
time?
right. You lose 2 weeks and you're up a creek. And so that was the other tricky thing I think about something like Open International. So the whole topic today, sorry, I didn't even introduce the show very well. Today we're talking all about running things remote. Like, how do you run remote coffee? There are a lot of people out there that do remote coffee. A lot of times it's here in the States. I don't know that many people that are trying to do remote coffee international. And that's what we've stepped into in this whole engagement in Belize. So we're going to talk about running coffee remotely because a lot of times with consulting clients, we'll hear them kind of getting nervous about anything done remote. And I think that what this whole exercise has been for Drew and I is, no, you can do it. And we're doing it multiple countries away. You know, we're doing it like fast as I can get there. If I like get on a plane, I book a ticket today that I can jump on in an hour. The fastest I can get there is 8 hours. That's the fastest I can get there. I can't get anybody there faster than 8 hours. And most of the stuff we ship is going to take at least 3 weeks. That's just bottom line. If I order it today and it hits the docks in Texas today, it's not going to get there for 3 weeks. That's a whole different game. And so I think that coming back now full circle to open in this new location, that's been really tricky on how do you keep supply chain solid? How do you know that your machines are all going to get there on time? How do you know the cadence of when things are going to arrive? And then also think about it this way. So let me tell you a sweet little story. So my wife and I went down to be there for the grand opening to help Drew, and I also flew in Taryn, right? Old school, like bringing Taryn Turner and his wife, the good old school Taryn Turner, who just has been with us through a ton of his own grand openings. In fact, was with us last grand opening down there in Belize. Brought Taryn and Lauren back, which was awesome. But when we got down there, the contractor hadn't even committed the building over to us yet, right? We have a grand opening coming Friday. He hasn't even given us the building, right? And so it's like he gives it to us on Saturday. Now we're going to try and get all the machines set up and all of the stock in, right? When Megan and I walked into this building, there's like 150 boxes stacked in the corner of all the goods, right? No shelving has been bought yet, right? So that place is a wreck, right? Because contractors, they're just like getting stuff done. They don't do the final cleaning till the end. We were so tight on time. I'm like, I'll do the final cleaning. We'll do the final cleaning. We'll just do it. I just need you guys out so that I can get stuff dialed in. So like tarps on the floors, dirt, like everywhere. I mean, it's a situation, right? And we have to get the machines up and going, and we got to get foreign kids trained, right? Because these are brand new kids who have not served coffee before, all in time for a grand opening on Friday. So let me tell you, what a freaking zoo, bro. What do you think about that?
It gives me PTSD to all those times in the past where we're like, this is the grand opening date. And every time we're like, okay, we're not going to plan the grand opening date until we have the C of O in hand. And
That's right.
Sure enough, we plan the grand opening date and we get occupancy like 2 weeks or a week beforehand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to know at least that doesn't change no matter what country you're in. It's always down to the wire.
It's always stressful. It's always stressful. I didn't kick nothing. I didn't break nothing, but I'll tell you what, it was, this is the biggest trick. I would say the difference of running coffee international and running things remotely is you just can't count on things the same way that you can count on them here. And you and I've talked about that a couple of times, right? Is You run up to cash and carry if like you're out of things. So let's say worst case scenario, none of your supply vendors come through. You're gonna be able to find your stuff here, right? Because
Yeah.
we're in the States, especially being in the Pacific Northwest, even machine pain points, right? Like you're gonna be able to find parts and pieces. You're gonna be able to find machines, even if everybody fails you. I feel like Ben Clatterbuck and I could bootstrap something here.
Oh yeah.
We could get
Easy.
it pulled together pretty quick. The trick with Belize is where do you think you're going to get it? Your supplies? Like, it's not like there's an abundance of people doing what you're doing. Your machines, it's not like there's any experts in the area that we could go to. And it's not like we have any vendors that are right there in country that are going to supply the parts that you need when things break. That in and of itself, like, and this particular location, they opened on an island, which like last location we opened on the mainland, which at least you have the whole country of Belize to draw from, right? Like on the island, no, you've got on the island to draw from. I mean, like that's what you got, you know? And on Belize, it's like, for those who've never been to Belize before, it's an amazing place, but it's all golf carts on San Pedro, right? It's like 90% golf carts, 10% cars, and the cars are taxis, most of them, right? So that means something breaks. You need to find something. I needed to find shelving. We didn't have shelving. Get in the golf cart, go hit every hardware store you can possibly like, and there's all kinds of like mom and pops, like cluttered together things that nothing that should be grouped together is grouped and it's
Mhm.
called a store. And you walk in and you're like, I want shelves. And they're like, well, what do you mean when you say shelves? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is how remedial we're going to get like it. So I think put yourself in that situation and realize opening in a third world country, opening in remote, it's not easy. But I will say this, like, it's exciting too. It's different. Like there's something that feels just like cut on the cutting edge, on the cusp of something new. This is the first
Mhm.
drive-through coffee ever to launch in Belize, and that feels pretty badass,
Well, let's be honest, you're kind of opening in paradise too. Like it's everything
right?
around the coffee shop's not that bad.
Right. People say that all the time. They're like, "Yeah, sorry, bro. Wow, wow, wow. You woke up in the tropics on the ocean every day, and there's no way around that. Like it was so beautiful every day, and I thank God because I mean, this time of the year too, the weather can get. It rained all this last week. You know what I mean? It could have
Mhm.
been a grand opening in the rain, and it's not like rain even here in the States where it rains, like everything's paved down there. That not everything's paved, so
Yeah.
things can get really muddy and messy and sketchy and awful really quick. And I mean, hurricanes. I mean, you can hit hurricanes down there and that, I mean, there are all kinds of things we could have been up against that we were not. And so I'm very, very grateful that it was a trick.
Yeah, I'm curious, like how, like with supply chain stuff and shipping, like does weather come into a factor on that stuff? Like, I mean, if the Gulf is, I'm guessing it all goes through the Gulf, right? If the Gulf is
Right.
bad, like, are you stranded without stuff for longer than that 3 week period?
Yeah. I mean, we've had to establish some connections with neighboring countries. You know, this is the biggest trick I think that we've had to learn in helping this coffee shop down in Belize is we take things for granted here. You know, like we can bitch and complain all we want about costs of things here, and we can bitch and complain about taxes, and we can all the different things we want to, but at least you know what you're paying for when you buy it. You know what I mean, like there's no questions. It's not going to be like, oh no, it was here or down here. Or if maybe you're building a location. I know we've got some friends that are building a location on the East Coast in South Carolina, human being Raleigh. If you're building anything right now, maybe what you've seen, and we definitely saw this with a friend that we consulted and helped build a location for down in Reno, is that land, like developing land prices just skyrocketed. We
Yeah.
watched this location down in Reno go from a $300 development site to a $600,000 development site. So from 300K to 600, like double. And that guy was the cheapest. We put it out to three other developers. That was the cheapest one we came in. And so we had to say, what? Yes, thank you kindly. Like that's all I can say. So I'm not going to say that there aren't fluctuations in price here in the States. And I'm so grateful for what we're able to do it for down in Belize. But I will say this, when you start hitting supply chain problems, like you're saying in the Gulf, and you have to start going to neighboring countries, you don't know what you're going to get charged. And you don't know what it's going to cost to bring it back into country because customs, it's like the Wild West. It's like what they're feeling like today. It's like, do you know the guy? Do you not know the guy? Like, and if you're white or if you are clearly not from there, like that's their opportunity, right? That's their opportunity to make some money. That becomes the trick of the whole thing. So it's not even just you're dealing with weather, but let's say if you do get a lockup in the Gulf and you're not able to get stuff down, the trick can be even getting it across borders. And then how do you at the P&Ls at the end of the month when you're trying to, you know, you and I've looked at P&Ls for years, you know, and pulled across and we've even created incentive plans around P&Ls and how do we incentivize our baristas and our managers to be able
Mhm.
to run more efficient stores. You and I spent years developing that and came up with really badass systems for that. I mean, I think That's also in Coffee Experts Club in the academy. But the thing is with something like this, how do you establish efficiencies when you don't even know what your cogs are going to be because you don't know what they're going to charge you or what it's going to cost to get it across the line? And then I know for us on the island, the trick is how many touching points does it have to finally get that product to you? Because
Yeah.
even if it, best case scenario, you buy it from a supply house in the States that ships it to Texas. Well, that's your first batch of shipping. And then it ships from Texas to Belize. That's your second time you paid for shipping. And then you've got to get it from wherever your control station is to whatever location you're at, right? So then you just paid again for somebody to get it to wherever you're going. And now it gets to the island. So you have to pay the parts. So by this, some of this stuff you paid for 4 times just to get it to you. Like factor that into cogs. You know what I mean? Like that's it's just it has been a learning curve and it's been exciting. And I can tell you this, it's been profitable and it's been awesome. And like the shop is doing great, which I'm excited about. But just between us girls, like we told Drew right before we got on this call, hey bro, you should probably go take a nap. Like 'cause he was just looking so drained because our boy is just pushing so hard. We're just now at 25 days out and it's been a hard lift. It has not been easy. So it's not for the faint of heart, but it has been awesome. So that's what I would say about supply chain and the Gulf.
I was gonna say, you're not selling me too hard on opening up in another country.
And as I was telling the story, I was thinking, I do want to hit this is, people might be listening and thinking to themselves, Aaron, that doesn't sound like running it remote. Drew's been there for 25 days. I will say we do retainers within the Collab team where we'll send Drew someplace for a month, where we'll just send him down there. And the whole reason he's down there is to establish it. Right. So we can help with hiring. These are the things we usually help out with is hiring, finding your keen hires, especially your manager, helping you establish your workflow. Yeah, I mean, like how is the bar going to work, especially if you're new and you haven't done that before. That's really helpful. Helping you to establish supply chain. Drew is always down there doing those things, but what Drew hasn't always been as neck deep as he is in this time is machines. Like this time, machines gave us a run for our money. We usually will buy refurbished machines. That's just an easy way to save money out the can, which is not a big deal. Like Drew has worked on machines for a long time. But these machines down there. So let me tell you this story, Ben, because this is another one to not sell you on doing it, but to also tell you about the excitement of it. So grand opening day, we sold like 1,300 cups or something like that. It was awesome. It was a zoo. It was like just crazy, crazy, crazy volume. And then second day two, we made even more money on day two, right? Because day one is deal day, right? Day two, you've established the volume train. So now you get to make more money, which is awesome. That always feels good. Day three, Megan and I are leaving, right? We're going to leave Drew with the crew. He's got 2 kids that we had raised up at the previous location we moved to the island, who were there with Drew. Taryn and Lauren had put in their time. So now it's just Drew, new crew and established crew. So Drew's there. I fly back from the island to the mainland. I'm boarding a plane with my wife to get on it and fly home. And Drew calls me and he goes, bro, the machine just went down, right? Espresso machine's dead in the water. Espresso machine is not working anymore. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's day 3. What do you mean? So thankfully we have a spare, but it's in Cayo, right? It's at the original location, which is an hour and a half inland. So I try and beg, borrow, and steal anybody I know that could pull it off for me. Nobody's gonna be able to pull it off for me. So I have to say, baby, I'm so sorry, and put her on a plane and fly her back to the States by herself and go dog down a rental car, which I had to go to 5 different places to find a rental car. So anyway, I had to find this rental car. And the funniest story, I walk out there, it's the last guy and he goes, bro, I maybe have a car coming back in an hour, or there's this one, but it's having mechanical problems. But if you want to try it, I'd rent it to you. And I'm like, bro, I don't have any choices. Yes, I'll try that. Let's see how it goes. So anyway, I rented it, didn't have any problems, thank God. Drove back, but like even crating up a machine in a third world country is different, right? It's not like those are all over the place, So finding like pallets, we had to like pull a bunch of pallets out of a dumpster and then go break those apart and build them and try and get it back to the airport to get it across the side. And then we made it. We didn't make it in time for it to go back to the island. So then I had to stay the night someplace and find someplace safe enough to park with an espresso machine in the back of the car, right? And then come back in the morning and put it across on the barge. And I had to like pay some like officials just to get it back over in the timeline that I wanted to, like things that are just so crazy. So I think this location has been amazing. We're experiencing great success. Like we love the people of San Pedro. They've been loving on Coffee de los Mayas down there, but not for the faint hearted. And then even after that was our spare machine. Drew got it over there, set it all up. We started having problems with the spare. So we had to buy like $3,000 worth of parts that I couldn't ship. I just had to pay somebody on a plane ticket, send them down there to bring down parts so Drew could get that up and going. And then today I was talking to him and he's like, man, the soda gun machine giving us problems. So it's like poor Drew, like not only all the weight of lifting a grand opening, but then to have to wrestle through some of the mechanical problems of machines.
I wonder how close are you guys to the beach? Does saltwater air have any impact on all that?
And we are, I mean, so the island's only a mile wide. I mean, so it's not a big place. You can see from one side of the island to this, and a lot of the island, it's narrower than that. So we're right on the ocean. But I think what it is just you know how it is. Like when you're dealing with used machines, when you're dealing with refurbed machines, it's kind of a crapshoot. The one we've been
Yeah.
using in Cayo has just been a battle axe. That thing has taken two. We did a annual, like a 1 year anniversary, and we did like 1,200 cups or something like that, which was bigger than we did grand opening the year before. And it just took it like a beast. We've had some small problems here and there, but nothing huge. But this new machine and then the spare machine, like Drew's pretty much had to take apart and rebuild. And I mean, thank God it's La Marzocco. Like I shout out to coffee culture guys up in Corvallis. I was talking to the owner up there. His name's Paul, and he was asking me what kind of machines we use, and we were talking about La Marzocca and Linea specifically, and he said, "I only buy 20-year-old machines. I only refurbish old machines." So I feel like the newer machines, they've tried to make so technical, and it's all the newfangled
Yeah.
electrical things, but it's not the battle axe that those older ones were. And so I mean, that is really our philosophy. We get the older machines, we rebuild them, but I mean, that's the downside, right? Is that sometimes things
Mhm.
fail, and then it's how many of those parts do you have to be able to rebuild again. So I do think we try and buy same machines, right? So that you can buy parts that are going to work universally. That's, I think, probably a
Yep.
great rule of thumb. And then you're right. Like I remember back in the days with Cody and roasters and Cody stocking up like 3 and 5, 10
Yep.
pieces deep on key pieces like that, steam wands, all the different things that, like all the filters, all the portafilters, all the different things that you do for the sake of like, you're going to have breakages, you're going to have problems. So
Yep.
make sure that you have those key elements. So that's what we've had to do. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's the ultimate lesson, right? It's not if it breaks, it is literally when will it break, and will I
that's
be
right.
ready when it does, and will it be ready when I need to repair it? I remember that the little warehouse he had, it was literally 5 of every piece that ever
Yep.
needed to be replaced, he had.
That's right. And it's just, I mean, it's just CYA, right? Like you're just covering your own ass until this thing for whenever it's going to happen, because it's going to happen. So I would say those of you who are dreaming about running remote, can it be done? Yeah, it's exciting. It's fun. I love it, but it's stressful, and there's pieces. And thank God for Drew, that Drew's able to go and take a month at a time and spend time in new places to do things like that. I think that is a big piece. You're going to need to account for, somebody's going to need to be there for a little bit of a stretch of time to get things going. But I look at our location in the Cayo district, in San Ignacio, and that little team out there just kills it. We get great ratings all the time, like we get great compliments all the time. All the time people tell us this is the best coffee in Belize. This is the best service we've had since we've been here, like which is really kind. And the local people have really rallied around us. We had some worry about that at first, of what are the locals going to feel, think, this is new, this is foreign, this is different. But they've been so kind and generous and gracious. And it was great at the grand opening in San Pedro, because we had some San Ignacio people coming over, like probably maybe a half dozen of different, like probably 2 or 3 or 4 different couples. And they're like, we're from San Ignacio. We were so excited that you were here. We just happened to be on the island. And we're like, man, it was like coming home. It was like, these are my people, because they know exactly what they want. And they're excited about their drink, and they were just so sweet. And so I think to see those kinds of things, it warms your heart, and it's exciting to be part of something new. So I think we're really excited to be as the coffee experts behind the people down there at Coffee de los Mayas, and been a really sweet thing.
The more you think about it too, like, I mean, running coffee remote may seem hard when you're a little on the smaller side, but really, like, every major coffee company runs remote. Starbucks, they don't have execs in every state and every state that they run. They run their coffee shops remote. It's just a little different because they're a corporation, but I mean, they're based out of Seattle, but they have shops in, Shanghai. That's
That's
remote.
right. That's right.
Sure, they're a lot larger and they know what they're doing now, but they started at the same place too. They had to figure it out as you go. You just eventually get to the point where you figured out everything that could go wrong, and then your next location, you're prepared.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about systems, right? It's like, how watertight are your systems? How
Yep.
executable are your systems? Really, in all honesty, sometimes to run a remote is the better thing, because otherwise, when you're in person, you have the temptation to get your hands all on everything, and then you make it dependent on you. And then it becomes not a business that you enjoy running. It's a business that's running you. I mean, because then every time a barista doesn't show up, every time a manager fails, every time something doesn't go right, you get in your car, you drive straight over there, and then that thing becomes a noose around your neck. Sometimes it's a gift when it's so far, because it's like, no, 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 we're going to have to troubleshoot this and trust our systems, because these are good systems. These are tried. I'd say don't be an idiot. Like, don't, if you've only opened 1 or 2 coffee shops, this isn't probably the place to go. Like, don't do a remote probably right out of the can. But if you've got established systems, you're right, Ben. It's like, no, no, trust the system. Like, what do we do in the
Mhm.
situation? Where do we go in the situation? And then if you have to build new variables, like we've had to build whole new variables for the kids down there of what happens when you run out of these supplies? What happens when you no longer can get these kinds of things? What do you pivot to? What are the pivots? How do we do promos down there? We had to switch our whole promo game down there to something different than we did here in the States. So I do think find your system, establish your system like we do with all of Collab teamwork, right?
Yeah.
Like it's an SOP, execute the SOP because the only way that you can elevate is to be able to delegate down. The only way you can delegate down is to establish solid standard operating procedures, SOPs that you can hand to somebody else. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, one of the biggest problems that a lot of smaller coffee companies, especially newer coffee companies, do is they every time they open a shop, it's so completely unique. This happened with us at Roasters too. Is like we've been in this game for what 10 years now, and we're still opening shops where everything's just kind of different. The
yep,
walls a slightly different color, the machine's a slightly different model,
yep,
the layout's slightly different. Everything's so unique that like you can't ever like, you always have to be in it because everything's different. Like, you've got 12 different types of machines, you've got 10 different layouts of shops. And so it never really forces you to make or create a business model that's duplicatable. Like, if you can create a copy paste business model or copy paste location, that's so much easier to run remote or even locally because, like, they're all the same. Like, it's all the same
yep,
machine, like you said. I've got errors for every shop if one machine goes down. All my blenders are the same. So if X shop goes down, I can pull it from Y shop. But if you're in the
yep,
middle of it and every shop's unique, that just multiplies your problems because you never have an SOP for everything. You've got an SOP for every single different shop and every single different piece of equipment. Going remote almost forces you to be like, okay, we have to make this copy pasteable.
that's right. Standardize it, man. I think you're exactly right, Ben, because I think that also enables you to send an A team. You know, like we'll send an A team to help things
And they
open, and
know.
it's so yeah, it's so nice to know. No, no, every time syrups are here, every time you're working left or right, every time this is how it works. Every time, like you just know where stuff's at. This is where the milk's gonna go. These are how far you put in the fridges away. This is where you know what I mean. Like all those different moving pieces. Like this is how you handle cold brew. This is how like everything is in its place and it's always the same, and that enables you to replicate and be able to roll into any town in that front zone, right? The front zone of your shop is the front zone of your shop, you know, and man, stay that. And I know we learned that the hard way a couple times with roasters where we dicked around a little bit with the way that layout was. And it really threw off baristas when we brought
Yep.
them into a new shop because we couldn't expect the same kind of efficiencies because they were stepping all over each other, you know, and it was in all different directions. And it was like, no, 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 that's established. This is the workflow. And we only build front of shops like this, you know, and I think
Yep.
that's smart.
You know, you always have a chip on your shoulder as an independent coffee owner. You're like, we're not like the big guys. We're unique. We held that for a little while until we realized, oh, unique is actually hurting us. Unique makes
Right.
our lives way more difficult because just like you said, like if we're doing a grand opening, we need to pull baristas from another shop who are trained well and they know how to make drinks. The second they come in, they're like, I don't know how to do any of this. Like, where's
Yep.
this? Where's that? Where's this? And all of a sudden your veteran baristas become brand new baristas. 'Cause they don't know where anything is. But I mean, it's wise to take some cues from the big players. Like it's wise to, I mean, if you go into a McDonald's, there's a reason why they all look the same. It's so that they
Yep.
can add a McDonald's in every single country in the world and run it remotely. And you can't
Yeah.
do that if everything is different.
And I think maybe just be selectively unique. You know what I'm saying? And don't mess with workflows. Workflows don't be
Yep.
unique, be standardized. You know what I mean? And then if you want to add some flair with what the location looks like externally or the textures you use, the colors you use, like the things that you do, that's fine. Just don't mess with the
Yeah.
workflow. Everything else go unique. Make it your own. Like do it and commit to it, but like be selectively unique and where you need to standardize because I think that you're right. That's exactly how you're able to do it again and again and again and do it with speed. You know, we opened the first one there for them in November last year. We opened the second one there for them at the end of the year. We were supposed to open the last week of December and actually pushed the 5th of January, but really within about a year and a month, two locations, which felt really good for a brand new business. And they're doing a banging up job down there. And it's exciting to watch and see. Well, thanks, my man. Thanks for hanging out for another Coffee Experts Club. It's good to be back
Sure.
in the saddle. Definitely missed Drew. I'm excited to have Drew with us again, hopefully next week. And man, thank you for your time tonight. And thank you for any of you that are tuning in. It's great to have you part of Coffee Experts. And we'll see you again next week. See you soon.
See you guys.
Thanks so much for joining us today. For those of you who are looking to become a coffee expert yourself, we offer an incredible, thorough training online for opening your first coffee drive-thru at www.myfirstdrivethru.coffee.